Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, I ain't got time for all that music and whatnot because I'm old now. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. This is Desperate House Witches. I'm Raina Star, so you don't have to be. Desperate House Witches is not a G, PG, or even an R-rated show. So, bad language, bodily function, dirty talk of any kind might offend you. This is not the show for you. Desperate House Witches is brought to you by today's guest, the amazing, divine Miss M herself, the incredible Dorothy Morrison. Please check out www.dorothymorrison.com for all of your Dorothy Morrison needs. And she is amazing, and she is with me. So we're just going to dive right in. And we apologize. This is our third or fourth time rescheduling because I came down with COVID, and we had all kinds of blog talk issues. We've had mishaps. We've had all kinds of craziness. Blog Talk Radio we're not going to be dealing with Blog Talk Radio after January because they are not hosting our platform anymore. So more details to come on that, but we will be moving to a new server. But anyway, let me introduce to you one of my favorite humans in the world, the amazing Miss M, the divine Miss M, the utterly wicked Miss M herself, the incredible Dorothy Morrison. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hi there. I am good. How are you?
I'm getting there. I know I sound like I've been through the wall, and it's interesting because I was able to avoid COVID until now. It finally snuck up and bit me on the ass, and it has not been fun. Hi.
Oh my gosh. That is a nasty, nasty thing. I have managed not to have it. I think a couple of years ago I may have had a touch of it. Okay, and it wasn't bad. It was gone in about 3 days, but it was like complete exhaustion. I was taking naps. We were actually visiting the kids and grandkids in North Carolina, and I would, I'd get up. I'd be up for a couple of hours, and they'd say, okay, we're going to go to lunch. And I think it's the only time in my life I've ever gone to a restaurant and ordered a grilled cheese sandwich and was only able to eat half. I've never ordered a grilled cheese sandwich at a restaurant in my life, but it was the lightest thing they had on the menu. And then went back to the house and took a nap. And they woke me up telling me, we're getting ready to go to supper now. And it was like, supper, oh, geez. And, but, that lasted about 3 days, and that was it. And it wasn't that I was terribly sick. It was just that I was exhausted, and there was no other reason for it. And then, of course, when we got back home, I found out that the grandkids wound up with it. So I was pretty sure that I had a touch of it. But, because...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, all I was going to say was that kids are germy. They go to school, and they're germy. Mm-hmm. And so they catch everything at school, and then they give it to other people. So,
Indeed. Well, my husband got germy and brought it home to me. So he got it from his office. Honey, I know. He brought it home. He was sorry he brought it home. He didn't bring it home on purpose, but he inadvertently got it at work and brought it home, and he was like, I am so sorry. Because he caught it, he brought it home on a Friday. By Sunday, I was flat up on the bed, and I was laying on the bed, and I was unable to get my head up off the pillow for 3 solid days. And I called my boss, and I said, it ain't happening. And he's like, how bad? And I could not speak for part of it. I had no voice. Breathing was not the problem. And I kept hearing breathing's the problem. And I'm like, nah, it ain't breathing. It feels like I've been kicked in the kidneys repeatedly. and I sounded pretty much worse than I do right now. I don't even feel sick now, but I just sound terrible. But oh my God, there were moments where I thought, oh shit, this is it. But nah, I got over it. But yeah, this was a couple of weeks ago already. But now I'm still fighting this long-term whatever it is. And I just looked in the mirror, and the most frightening thing happened, aside from when I normally look in the mirror. I just realized half my eyelashes are gone. So I was like, oh, well, that's an interesting side effect.
My goodness.
Yeah. So half my eyelashes are gone. Who knew? So, so I'm going to have to put on some fake bad boys when you and I are done with this hour so I don't scare the neighbors. But, yeah, apparently half my eyelashes have fallen out. Now, it wouldn't be so bad if it were like half my eyebrows or some nose hairs or something else. But, nah, eyelashes. So that was interesting. I just discovered that.
Oh, so, my goodness.
So my husband went to the doctor today because we suspect he has a hernia. So, so he's going for x-rays on Friday because, as I had mentioned to you earlier, all these things that we have been pushing off because we were young and strong and healthier is now catching up. So, even as witches, this shit keeps hitting. So, I think the universe is slow down.
I get that, but every time something happens with me, I think, one time, I was actually visiting with Raven and Stephanie Gramasi, and they had this a house in Massachusetts, and I gone to visit, and one night they had an event. And so Christopher Pensack and I had gone out to supper, and, we came back. Christopher went home. I went upstairs to my room, and then I realized that, I left my iPad in the kitchen. And so down the stairs I go, and they had this old Victorian house, and it actually had servant stairs, and they were it was a big staircase, but there were servant stairs, and it was quicker for me to get to the kitchen from there. And so I went down there, and I couldn't find the damn light switch, and I missed the bottom step.
Oh!
And I hit on a throw rug that went sliding across, and I caught myself on the wall. And so, you know how sometimes you hurt yourself, and you go, damn it, that hurts, but it'll go away in a minute. And so I limp into the kitchen, and I get my iPad, and I go back up the stairs. Come to find out, I broke my friggin' foot.
Oh.
Yeah, I did, yes. So, what a pain all that was. And I thought to myself at that point, you know what? If you wanted me to slow down, could you not have found a better way to do this?
Oh my God.
Because we lived in a townhouse, and our bedrooms were upstairs, and so once a week, I would come, and I had a walker. Thank God. Okay, a walker is so much better than crutches. So my walker was one of those fold-up ones, and so I would take it to the top of the stairs every Sunday, and I would get on my ass and come down those stairs on my ass.
Oh, my God.
And then when I got to the base of the stairs, unfold the walker, get up, and I would water my plants, and I would do my laundry because I don't trust my Mark to do laundry. Well, not mine. He can do his, but not mine. I'm really funny about that because he throws everything in the washer together. And if he wants to do that with his clothes, that's great, but not with mine. So I would do my laundry, and then back up the stairs on my ass I would go. And, and he was so good. He would come home from work, and he would fix my dinner and bring it upstairs for me. But, I mean, it's this, it's this kind of stuff, so I know exactly what y'all are talking about. It's like, okay, slow down, but do you have to hit me with a 2x4?
Well, I find that I'm stubborn, so yeah.
Well, I'm stubborn too, but not quite that stubborn. I mean, I would have thought there would have been some better way, you know. My husband also had to go to the doctor today because he has had something that we thought was RSV, and but it has been going on forever, and he's had the steroids, and he's had the antibiotics and all this stuff, and it's not getting any better. And I mean, you know, it's enough so that, you know, he snores at night, but it's enough so that he snores and coughs and still doesn't wake up, you know. So he goes today. They send him for a chest X-ray. They don't give him anything. They send him for a chest X-ray. We just got back the results. There's nothing wrong with his lungs. I mean, I thought he had pneumonia. I figured he had walking pneumonia.
Wow.
No. Nothing. No. So he goes back in a week, you know, and so they're going to, you know, look at this and so on and so forth. But it's kind of like, really, come on. There has got to be something the matter, because no one has a cough like this just constantly. No one.
Wow.
And he, you know, he had blood work done recently, and so there's no sign of, you know, an infection. If he had an infection of some sort, his white count would be, you know, way high. But no, nothing.
Sure.
Everything came back normal on that. So it's like, what is causing this?
Right. He's got something somewhere. What's going on here?
Well, yes, I know. but you're right. You know, as witches, you would think, okay, that we could maneuver and navigate this stuff a little better. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, we're still human.
I forget that on occasion, don't you?
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. It's like, what the hell is wrong? Oh, duh. I'm human. This stuff happens. So,
I know.
Anyway.
I know. It's true, though. And it's
like
funny
everything.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh. It's like everything doesn't have a magical solution. That's all, you know.
I know, and Mark keeps asking me, he's like, honey, can't you just nicka do this thing? And I'm like, wouldn't it be great if I could? But unfortunately, I do not have the capability to nicka do everything for you. If I did, a lot of stuff would not happen. He's like, oh, well, can you work on that? And I'm like, I've been working on it for the last 50-something years. I'm sorry, I do not have a solution for you just yet, but I'll keep working on it. How's that?
Well, and you know, and I think what doesn't occur to some people is sometimes we're just too tired to really get into all that. It's like, I need to rest, because when you work magic, you really need to be in the right state of mind so you can focus on what the end result should be. And I think when you don't feel well, you know, and you're tired, then that makes it more difficult.
I don't think people realize that we're actually considering the possibilities of what can happen. Because I think folks just look at a certain result and think, well, just aim that way and do that. And it's like, no, there's a lot more to consider than just a simple outcome, because everything does affect everything else. And we have a responsibility to look a little bit beyond our own noses to see what could possibly happen as a result of what we might do with something. And I think...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there's a little more responsibility involved than just throwing a spell and, hoping that it only affects what we want it to affect, as opposed to what might be a bigger picture down the road. What do you think?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. when I was a baby witch, one of my teachers likened magic to tossing a stone in a pond.
Mm-hmm.
And the ripples, that,
sure.
the impact causes these circles, these ripple circles to move outward. And so, anything you do does affect a lot of different things. I think another problem is sometimes people aren't honest with themselves about exactly what they want to accomplish. You have to be brutally honest with yourself and maybe even non-judgmental with yourself about what you really want. And then you need to focus on that. But you're right. A lot of people don't look at the big picture.
Yeah.
I have taken some ribbing for this, but I'm one of those people that always strips things down to the bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me a lot of superfluous bullshit. Just, I am kind of like Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am. Okay? So instead of giving me 5 pages of crap to look at, don't do that. Tell me in 20 words or less what the issue is. Let's do that.
Yep.
Okay? And a lot of times, people think that they're working magic because something that they want to fix affects other people. Okay? And so they're kind of working that magic for other people. That's okay, but, you have to figure out, too, when are you helping and when are you interfering?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and when are you enabling? Sometimes it's a matter of yes, you need this stuff to stop. It's like, oh my God, so-and-so is in such an abusive relationship, and that needs to stop. Well, if that person is a grown person, you are better off supplying them with some resources, but they're a grown person.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to have to take the first step because now you're interfering. The other thing that you don't know is that whether something that is going on in that relationship is related to a life lesson that one of those people needs to learn.
Oh, true.
And that was always really hard for me to step back and go, if I'm keeping someone from learning a life lesson, then, do I really want to go through with this, and how do I know if this is what I'm doing? And then, of course, I had to listen to my gut, because I have to tell you, I have been through some very hairy situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, and some of them would make people's hair stand on end. I know they think that I have always lived this wonderful, glamorous life, la, la, la. but that is not true. And those situations that I survived, because that's the only way for me to put it. I actually survived them. Actually, to a large degree, made me the person that I am today. And without those, and without me figuring out how I was going to survive them, I would be a completely different person now.
Sure.
So all those lessons were very valuable.
Oh, yeah.
And do we have the right to keep somebody else from learning their lessons? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, I agree. Listen, I almost got myself into a situation where somebody told me that they were being physically struck, and this was someone I was very protective of, and I almost got myself into a situation, and just before I was about to take action, the person decided at the 11th hour to admit that they struck first. And I'm like, do you realize what I was about to do? And they were like, wow, I mean, you really endangered a whole bunch of parties by not being forthcoming with all of the information. So you've got to be super duper careful, and you just don't know if you have all the information. And while your intentions are good and protective and wanting to help and defend someone who you think is weaker or defenseless or unable to take care of themselves, you could be setting yourself up for a world of hurt that you are unintentionally walking into by trying to help somebody else. So I've got to tell you, that was a life lesson for me. And after that particular moment, I thought, gee, I better be real careful in the future anytime I walk into a situation like this to make sure I have the facts before I take any kind of action, because I could be putting myself and somebody else I love in danger by not having all the information. So, yeah, I totally am 100% on board with what you're saying, because you could be setting yourself up for questions.
Well, yeah, I this is one of the reasons, I have people who email me and they want me to do work for them, okay? I won't. There are a lot of reasons for that. But I had a very good friend who was a conjureman, and he told me that, and while he did work for other people, he said that was iffy sometimes because people are not completely honest about the situation. And he said, and there are times when he'll go, where his client will go, oh, well, that didn't work, blah, 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 blah. And then after he continues to have conversations with them and he finally gets a little aggressive with them, then out comes the real truth of the matter. Well, a medical practitioner can only work with what they've got. They base any work on what the client has told them, because this is the situation and this is what needs to happen. But when you leave out information, that screws everything up. And I find that some people who even work magic for themselves, aren't honest about what they want. Once I did a money magic workshop at an event, and and my workshops were always very interactive, and so this one woman had lost some money in some kind of a harebrained scheme, a get-rich quick scheme, and one of her relatives had talked her into that. And so she had put, I don't know, several $1,000s, which it wasn't a lot of money to me, but it was a lot of money to her because it was like her life savings. She put it into that, okay, without doing any research, just trusting this relative. So she wanted to recoup that money, or that's what she said. And so I said, okay, here's what here's what you do to bring in that much money. And she went, oh no, that would just be extra money. And I went, okay, so why would that just be extra money? You wanted to refurbish your savings, and if you got that money, that would put the exact amount of money back in there. no, that would be extra money. Once we delved a little deeper into this, she finally admitted that what she really wanted was for her relative to just shit that money and grovel at her feet. And so, if that couldn't happen, she wanted revenge. But you see, and that was okay. And it's like, okay, you want revenge? Now we're getting somewhere. Now, if that's what you want, then do this. But, but you know, she wasn't really being honest with herself about what she wanted, because that's a far stretch from a money spell.
Oh, yeah. These are different things.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, the human psyche is really funny. we don't like to admit that.
No, people don't like to admit the ugly feelings, and it's like, but they're feelings and they're real, and the only way to accomplish anything is to be. If you're going to lie to yourself, the universe will happily lie right back to you.
Well, yeah.
That's what I
think. You know, and that's the thing, Rana. You know, all of us as human beings are flawed, and that's okay. But when it comes to magic, you can't lie to yourself about what it is you want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. You know.
I agree. Wait and figure it out, I think. Because, I'm the first to admit I don't know shit about shit half the time. And when I don't, I just sit and wait on it, because I'd rather just wait until I have a clear idea of what I'm trying to do rather than just throw something at the wall and see if it might not be the thing you want. And if it's going to stick, you might be really sorry.
Well, exactly. You know, I have, in my earlier days as a practitioner, I made some of those mistakes. And there was one of them that took me several years to untangle. Now, I was determined, and it had to be fixed and set right. And fortunately, I was the only person that it really and truly affected adversely. But, but this was a matter of fixing my life. And the only way to fix my life was to somehow fix that and get that spell removed. And I finally did. But, that was another thing that taught me a valuable lesson. It took me, less than 10 minutes to cast that spell and 2 years to undo it.
Yep.
Now, that also put some extra tools in my magical repertoire, because I didn't go to anybody else for help, because I didn't know who to trust. And the fact of the matter was, I couldn't afford at that point to pay anybody to help me. And, and so it was like, okay, this should work. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, then this should work. Well, okay, that didn't work. And so then I took the situation, and a lot of times I'll do this, especially if someone comes to me and they either have some kind of a complicated situation, or, gosh, and I hate to even say this, if something that they're telling me about the situation sounds really squirrely and nutty, okay? I'll take it and I'll look at it like a cut stone, and I'll kind of turn it around from every angle, so I get kind of a clear view of what's going on, and that tends to help me. So a lot of times I had somebody contact me, and it was like, I'm reading this, and I'm thinking, I'm wondering if somebody is setting me up. I can't. This is so crazy. I've never heard of anything quite like this before. And so I contacted a couple of practitioners whom I trust, very reputable ones, and they went, I think that person's crazy. And so it was like, okay, fine. And so I looked at that, and then all of a sudden when I reread it, I came across one little thing, and I thought, oh, I can use this. And so I told this person, look, if this is going on and you have this person with this background helping you, then tell them to do this. Boom. And it was like, amazingly enough, that solved it.
Wow.
And then, of course, I told her, to light a plain white candle and do blah, 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 okay? Because sometimes with people, things get better if you give them a job.
Of course. For sure.
So I did that because, a plain white candle and pouring out your heart to whoever you see as your creator or your deity works wonders. And it gets that off their chest. Sure. So, sometimes really simple magic that other people don't see as magic works.
Well, I think simple is good. Simple to me is, sometimes we just need to be reminded to reconnect because I don't know about you, but in my younger days, man, let me tell you what, I was so busy throwing all kinds of shit at the wall to see what would happen. It took me years to undo some of the bad shit I've done. I mean, seriously, I threw a spell once that was so bad and so heinous that it took me years to figure out which one was the big fuck up. But I finally figured it out. But oh my gosh, there's some shit I did as a young witch that I don't fuck up like that. It's like, oh, you idiot, you knew it was bad. Well, what is wrong with you?
Well, yeah, and as a young witch, I was going through formal training. And so, I was lucky enough to be able to do that, okay? Most people who call themselves witches now don't seem to have that, either they don't have that opportunity or they don't care, okay? They just want to do things on their own, which is okay too, I guess. So, but anyway, there were actually rules. Yeah. And I wasn't supposed to be working magic for, the first year. Well, telling somebody, a new witch, not to work magic, it's like telling teenagers not to have sex. They're gonna.
Yeah.
And so, so you may as well prepare them, okay? But so there was never a time when there wasn't some kind of a candle or something going on in my house. So I'm with you, okay? But then, I made messes, and I couldn't tell my teachers that I had done that because I wasn't supposed to be working magic to start with. Yep. Now, I am sure that they probably knew that I was doing that, and they just didn't say anything, and just let me flounder around, okay? But as a result, I have to say that most of what I learned about magic, I never learned during formal training.
Right.
I learned a lot of that on my own by trial and error.
Oh, sure.
This is what works for me. This is what doesn't work for me. And and then I developed kind of a foolproof, let's get it undone kind of a spell. But So, a lot of times, people go, oh my God, I'll tell somebody how to do something, and they'll come back with me with a ton of questions. And what I've told them really is self-explanatory, and it's like, don't make this hard. Just do this, okay? Don't make this hard. Yeah, but there's not really much to that, and that's not going to work. Yeah, it will. If you believe it will, it will. So let's do it. How about that? And because learning by trial and error is the best way to learn anything.
True, very true. But I love what you said about don't make it hard. It's like you do not have to overcomplicate this. It's not like the Masonic handshake. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's no secret lodge thing you got to do. If we explain it to you and it sounds simple, just do what we tell you to do. Just do it. It's easy. It's okay. Really, it doesn't have to be.
It's not rocket science, you know. It really isn't rocket science. That's the whole thing. Or, you know, you'll have people, and I am sure that you probably have people come to you with this too, you know. It's like, oh, I don't know. You know, I don't know that I can do this. Oh, I'm so afraid that I'm going to make a mistake. No, you're not going to make a mistake. If you do, so what? So you fix the mistake. This is, you know,
exactly.
It's like nobody's going to strike you dead for making a mistake. Okay, so what? You know, you go down the wrong path, you turn around, and you go back the other way. This is all very simple to me. But I realize that everybody doesn't see things like I do.
But I do remember the beginning. I do remember being afraid that the whole world was going to fall apart if I fucked this up. I do remember that. So I guess my perspective is a little different because I remember being scared. I remember being nervous. And this is before I had a mentor. And because I went for a long time without a mentor. Because I was practicing too young, without any kind of formal training, and, you know, which is when I made the bulk of some serious mistakes, and I admit that. I was out of my depth. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't actually have someone looking after me and trying to help me until I was in my late teens. I had already been throwing shit and making mistakes years before that, before I had a clue about what I was doing. So I do remember after making some pretty bad mistakes being scared because, I mean, I made messes. Oh boy, did I make messes. But I also learned about undoing some shit. It's like, no, don't leave all that stale magic out there. Get rid of that shit. That shit's lingering, and it will come back and find you later on, and it won't be pleasant. And yeah, I had to learn about doing that early, and it's not cute. It's not cute. But yes, I do remember that fear of, oh my God, is the world going to fall apart if I make that mistake again? It's like, no, the world doesn't fall apart. You've got to make up for your mistakes like you do with anything else, because, you know, karma's a bitch. And she gonna come looking for you. But yeah, you just fix it and move on. And as you get older and wiser, you realize it sooner, which is really what you gotta do.
I had an epiphany when I was talking about that spell that I cast. It took me 2 years to untangle. I had an epiphany, and this worked so well. And this has always worked when I have fucked up. I was in a thrift shop, okay, like, I don't know, Goodwill or someplace like that, and I picked up an old sweater, and it wasn't one that was my size, none of that. It was, you know, I wouldn't have been able to put my big toe in it probably, okay, but I bought it.
Yeah.
Took it home, and I cut the neck binding off of it. And I unraveled stuff until there was only one yarn end. So the ones that were cut, you know, I kind of took those out and tossed that aside. And I named that sweater for the issue. Ooh. And I began to pull the thread and unravel it. And the spell, of course, was as I was unraveling the yarn in that sweater, so was this unraveled and undone. And when I got to, and the reason I did it with a small sweater was because I wanted to be able to do this like over one day.
Yep.
I didn't want to have to just leave this.
Yep.
And when all the yarn was unraveled, then I burned it. And that was the end of it. But you see, that was something really simple.
Yep.
And it was a matter of just looking at the situation and how are we going to, how can we undo something? Well, let's, one of the things that I was taught is that, of course, magic is energy. Everything is made of energy, okay? And a ritual is just taking something and changing the energy in it.
Yep.
That's all. And so, for example, when you sew something, if you're going to say you're going to make a dress, you change the form of the fabric by cutting it into pieces, and then you change it again by sewing it together. So you have changed the energy several times by doing that. Unraveling that sweater, I changed the form. And then I burned the yarn, and so now there was no form, which meant the spell was gone. That old spell was gone. And so, sometimes it's just a matter of, maybe it doesn't take a candle. A lot of magic, to me, is common sense. But when you're concerned about something, it's hard to take a breath and, use your common sense.
Yep. Boy, you just gave me the perfect out, because Mark is yelling at me about all these clothes I got, and he's like, "You got to get rid of some of this shit." Well, now I know what to do with it. I got a whole bunch.
What are you going to do with it?
I'm going to repurpose a whole bunch of shit into spells. Are you kidding? That's awesome. I can shred things. I can cut things up, things that I shouldn't need to wear anymore, things that are just old, that are out of style. I can just get rid of like that. Are you kidding? I can repurpose a whole bunch of things that are not wearable, and everything else I can just give to Goodwill. That's perfect. I knew all that.
Yes, indeed.
All that.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
I'm glad you've given you. I'm glad to have given you something that you can do in the new year that's going to bring you joy. How about that?
It is, because I don't know. I just I like clothes. I like buying clothes. I don't know what it is. It's not like I'm going anywhere, but I just have this little habit. Some people like cars. Some people like houses. Some people like furs. I like a new pair of jeans. What can I say? So that's going to be my cure of getting rid of some of my older stuff. But, we're going into this new year, Dorothy, and I just see so many people forgetting about the day-to-day happiness, forgetting how to laugh, forgetting how to have a good time, and being so stressed out. And I got to tell you, while circumstances may not be perfect, they may not be what we wanted them to be, I'm so grateful that we have another year to be together. And while things are not perfect, and while things look like, oh, what if this happens and what if that happens? First of all, nothing's happened yet. Not really. And I just want folks to, maybe not borrow trouble before anything even happens. Mr. Jimmy just died, President Carter, who politically and religiously we were not aligned, but he was a good man. And I just want to take a second to appreciate him and just think about the kind of person that I want to look up to and the kind of person he was. And even though we didn't agree on things necessarily, you can respect people you don't agree with, depending on the type of person they are and how they carry themselves. And I just want folks to have more of an appreciation for each other maybe going forward into the new year. Not that we have to like everything or agree with anything, but to maybe find some peace and maybe find some happiness in our own lives that we take for granted. Because I will tell you, having this time with you, as hard fought as we got to get here, to get to this hour together, I'm just so happy I got to have this hour with you.
Well, I'm so happy too. It is a blessing to me, and you are one of my blessings, and I want you to know that. I do want to. Oh, thank you. I do want to say something about Jimmy Carter. And people are probably not going to believe this, but on Election Day that year, okay, I was hell-bent to get to the polls to vote for him. And then I realized that I had moved, and so, but I hadn't changed my voter's registration card, which you used to have on hand, and so my poll was about 40 miles away. I had a blowout, and I was way, way away, and I was able to catch a bus. So I left my car where it was, caught the bus, but the bus didn't take me all the way to the polling place. And I waited and waited to transfer to the bus that would, and it didn't come. And I walked almost 5 miles to the polling place to vote for him. And that was how strongly I felt about that. Now, it had nothing, religiously, we're not a match, okay? But I knew in my gut that he was a good man and as honest as politicians came at that point. And I would rather somebody be honest with me than blow smoke up my ass. And so I did that. And, the thing is, I remember that hostage situation. I remember it all being all over the TV. And if he had been able to get those hostages out, he would have gone down in history as a hell of a president. He did what he thought was right because he didn't want that much. He felt like the collateral damage was too much, and so, that was the way that was. But I also, after his presidency was done, I took note of the kindness and the things that he did. And, he was way ahead of his time. And you may be too young to remember this because I'm a little older than you are. But when he was president, he actually had solar panels installed at the White House. And then Reagan came along and took them away.
Yes, that's right. No, I do remember that because you're not that much older than me. I wasn't old enough to vote yet, but I do. But it wasn't long after. But Mr. Jimmy was a good man. He was a kind man, and he was the kind of man that we could all be proud of. And I found him inspirational. I found him to be a person of his word. And I think he's somebody we could all respect as Americans, and that was very important to me. And, listen, you do what you do with the best information you have at the time. And I just think he was an important person and will remain an important person in American history. I'm sorry there aren't more like him, and maybe one day there will be again. Jimmy used to
I hope so.
And, I respect the man. I have a family that respects the man. Didn't have to agree with him, but you know what? When someone is good from their heart and do the things that they believe from the teachings they not only received but also gave. You can see the measure of the man. You can see the goodness and the truth of what they believe. And he was a man true to his word from everything that we could see, from his works in the world. That's it. I mean, you can't say anything else about it. That's it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I salute him too. So now we were talking about just that joy, okay? Those little things, and and I think you're right. I think we have forgotten about that. There are so many things that to start with, our whole world seems to be in an uproar, okay? And it has seemed to be in an uproar for a while. And going into 2025, I challenge people to find the joy in little things, okay? The things that we take for granted. I go outside every morning with my coffee. Silas, the dog, and I go outside, and we have coffee.
Yep.
And we sit on the back porch, and I watch the birds. And I have an affinity for bluebirds. And I have bluebird houses, and bluebirds come and they nest every spring. And they usually have 2 or 3 clutches, so this goes on through the summer. But we live in kind of a tropical area. And, thus far we have had 1 small freeze. And I think we're due for some more, but apparently we're going to have a fairly warm winter here. It's not going to be outrageous, outrageously cold. Okay. And but anyhow, so the bluebirds are still around, but we have other birds too. I've got a mockingbird that has been here forever, and she builds a nest in one of the oak trees in the backyard, and but she can be kind of a bully. And, she thinks she owns the whole thing. Well, mockingbirds can be kind of mean. And so when she starts trying to chase the other birds away, I have a talk with her. And tell her, yeah. Oh, no. I own this. I love you, and you sing really pretty, but we're not going to have this bullshit. This doesn't happen on my watch. But once in a while, in the summertime, I'll have hummingbirds, even though I don't put out feeders, but they'll come through, and zip around and stuff. I find joy in that. The other day, we had that one little cold snap, and then my canna lilies froze. And of course, when that happens, you cut them back, and they come back every year, and so on and so forth. But I'm looking at this one the other day, and I catch a burst of color out of the corner of my eye, and I flip around, and one of them, even though the leaves froze and scorched from that, the damn thing bloomed. Boom.
Wow.
How could that not, this gorgeous cerise color, how could that not make someone smile?
I don't know.
I mean, really.
We need to be reminded to look at these things, because I think everybody is just so gobbled up in the news, and I'm guilty of it. I am totally guilty of just getting inundated and swallowed up whole and just letting it eat me alive. And and I apologize if people have followed me down that rabbit hole, because quite frankly, it was not healthy. It's not that I don't want to be informed. I'm going to be informed. We're all going to be informed, but we don't have to let it kill us. There's other things. We have joyful things to look forward to. I am planning my son's wedding. You know, we have good times ahead that we've got to. It's one thing to know about the world. It's another thing to be consumed by it, and we've got to find ways to not be consumed by it. And I think that's the point. And to take
I think
those
that's the
moments
point
every
too.
day like you're describing. Yeah, and I love what you're describing about how can you see these colors in nature and not just find happiness in that. I mean, that's...
Well, yeah, you know, it's, you know, like right now, it's a beautiful day. You know, I'm looking at my office window. The sun is shining, okay? The skies are blue. It's beautiful out there. And I, too, fell down that rabbit hole. I did.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, it seemed like every single second of every hour I was glued to the news. But you know, you and I can see now how ridiculous that is because it's the news. It's stuff that has already happened. We can't go back in time and make it not have happened.
Right.
That is what it is, okay? And so, you know, my theory is I remember a few years back people were so upset about so many things. They still are, but it was, I think, almost worse back then. And, you know, it was like there aren't any saviors in this life. You are your own savior. You know, if you're looking for a savior, you can forget it, okay? You know, how your life is usually it's up to you, or at least you're going to play a large part in that. And so my theory back then is still as it is now, okay? You make sure that your circle is fine. You need to find joy in each other. Count your blessings. You know, sometimes for me, that blessing is that I actually got to open my eyes and draw another breath today.
Same.
You know, when I'm having my coffee on the back porch, that's when I say my morning prayers, okay? But I always thank the ancients for, you know, the many blessings they've bestowed upon me, because there have been many, and the ones that I am maybe most grateful for are not the ones that other people would think I was grateful for. You know, they would think, oh, you know, she's grateful because she's had this career, or for this or for that. Generally, it is the other stuff. Okay. Now, I also I also thank them for this incredible life that they've given me to live.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that has nothing to do with my career. I can look back and see that I had a remarkable childhood. I didn't realize it at the time. But looking back, I got to do all kinds of things that other kids didn't get to do. There were other kids who were involved in dance class and piano lessons and this and that. That wasn't what I was involved in. But I had, you know, we had our house in town, and then we had what we called a camp house, which sat on multi-hundred acreage, okay? But you know, we had we had farm animals out there, so on and so forth. We had horses out there. My dad put me on a horse before I could walk, so I was allowed to go out to the barn and saddle up one of the horses and just take off. You know, we had 2 ponds that were stocked with fish. I was allowed to, you know, go grab a cane pole and walk a quarter mile down to the pond and go fishing by myself at like 4 or 5 years old. I mean, there were things that, you know, we had peacocks on our property, of all things. And, you know, my father's best friend was a game warden, and so if there were baby animals whose mama wound up being roadkill, we rehabbed them. I didn't think there was anything remarkable about any of that. But you know what? There was a lot. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of valuable stuff that I took forward with me into adulthood. So even back then, it was a remarkable life. And I'm grateful for that. And, you know, I realize that the world is much different now. I get it, okay? Yeah. There are things, you can't let your children out of your sight anymore and so on and so forth. But, you know, there are just so many things. You know, getting together with friends. You know, I have made some lifelong friendships. And I'm grateful for that. Those are blessings. These are the kinds of friendships that we may not speak in 5 years because we just lost touch, but the second we do, it's like none of that time ever elapsed.
Yep.
Those are things to be grateful for. Those are joyful things. Those friends that you have that you can say anything to, and there's no judgment.
Yep. You're one of those friends.
Well, yes, and you are too. You know, you know. Okay, there are. I can count on one hand the friends that I have like that, and that's enough. Those people who know, you know, my deepest, darkest secrets and flaws, and they love me in spite of them.
I know. Oh my gosh. Oh, the things you could tell people about me, frightening.
Well, honey, you know, I have always been one of those people that people just normally tell their deepest, darkest secrets to. But I think it's because instinctively they know that I will take all that to the grave.
I know.
You know, it's like, and but you know, it's people's flaws that make them interesting, I think.
Oh, well.
So I am fascinated. I have always been fascinated with human nature. You know, what makes people tick. Yeah. And so, you know, but yeah, there are just so many things that will bring us joy if we simply allow it to.
I agree. Oh, my God. Girl, we have been talking for over an hour. I got to wrap it up.
Have we?
Oh, yeah. 3:03.
Oh, my God, we have. Oh, my goodness.
I know.
We need to get off of here.
I know you do. But you know what? I have appreciated you doing this with me. I'm sorry it's been such a pain in the neck to get the hour together, but I'm grateful that we got here. I'm grateful for you. You have always been so kind and so wonderful. You were on the very first year we even had a show back in 2012. Oh, my gosh, it's been forever ago. And, you know, Dorothy, friends like you are so few and far between, but I am so grateful for you. And I'm so glad to end the year with you because you are always a bright spot for me, always have been, always will be. And I'm just ready to get into this new year with you together.
Yes, and we will. And I love you so much. And, yes, I'm actually glad we did this end of the year. Yeah, I am.
Me too.
Okay.
God must have been
I love you bunches.
So,
and we will see you next year.
I will see you next year. We will talk around your birthday because we always have to have the merry month of Morrison.
Okay. We'll get it set up and we'll do it. Okay.
Sounds great. All right, my friend.
Okay.
You have a wonderful
Happy New Year, darling. You too.
Happy New
Talk
Year.
To you soon.
Take care, everybody listening. Have a wonderful New Year. We'll see you on the flip side. and be kind to each other, but really be kind to yourselves, okay? And we'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Bye.